watercolor painting of a fruit tree is what we're going to be doing. A tree that produces lots of fruit in an area that has 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And that's what we have here in Ohio. We have all of these seasons. And the fruit tree that we're going to make today is an apple tree. We have lots of apple orchards around Alliance. We are lucky we get to have fresh fruit from these orchards here in Alliance. To start out our work today, we'll be using a pencil, and we're going to go maybe about 1/4 of the way up our paper and make what we call a horizon line, or some people call it the ground line, because this is going to be where the ground appears to meet the sky. And now we're ready to start our apple tree. Now, when you buy apples, most of them are from an orchard where there are lots of apples growing together, because that helps to cross-pollinate the blossoms, which is what makes such wonderful apples. But today we're going to just have 1 apple in our tree. Start over. Today we're just going to have 1 apple tree. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to put the trunk of our tree just a little bit down into the ground, maybe about here, and we'll start out making the trunk. And it's not going to be a real large trunk. It's going to be from an apple tree that produces apples. And we don't have a lot of root showing, just a little bit with an apple tree. Now, an apple tree that produces lots of apples doesn't get to be a great big old tree like an oak tree or a maple tree. An apple tree produces wonderful apples for about 20 years. And the person that's taking care of the orchard, they do what they call prune the tree. And that means that they cut away a lot of tiny twigs that grew the last year. And so the branches are kind of all over the place on the tree. So we're going to have just a few branches that'll be showing in our watercolor today. Not a lot of the branches. We won't be showing all of the branches, and of course we wouldn't even see the ones that are clear on the other side of the tree. So we're just going to have a few branches that we're making for right now. Notice I'm kind of making a letter Y, just to show that the branches branch off. There we have it. Now we're ready to use our watercolor. And in our picture today, we're not going to put a sun, but we want the painting to still show that the sun is shining. And there are ways we can do that. And with the tree, with the trunk and the branches, what we can do will be to have it look like the sun is shining from one side. We're going to say that it's maybe afternoon and the sun is shining on this side over here from the left. And since we're doing that, we'll want the trunk to look darker on the side where the sun isn't shining. And we'll do the same thing for our branches. We'll just have the darker color be on one side of the branches, and I'll show you what I mean. We'll get a lot of the paint on our brush. We don't want it saturated with water. And we'll start to have just one side of our branches painted, a dark brown. And we'll also do the same thing for the trunk. And also down here a little bit when we show just a little bit of the root. Now we're ready to do the other side of the branches. And this time we're going to have it, this is what's such a wonderful thing about watercolor, is that by adding more water to the color, we can have a lighter tint of that color. So now we're going to use more water with our brown for the rest of our branches. Okay, while that's drying, we're going to put some twigs on our tree. And keep in mind that we're not seeing all of the twigs. We're just seeing a few that are close to us in our picture. So we're just going to put a few twigs here and there. And these will not necessarily be the twigs that our apples will be on. But they're the twigs that might have leaves on them. Now I'm ready to put the apples on the tree. And again, the branches that are here and the small twigs do not necessarily have to be where you're putting your apples. You want your apples all over on the tree, here and there. And remember, we're not seeing all of the apples that are on the tree. We're only seeing the ones that are close to us in the foreground of our artwork. And I'm even going to put one here. A nice big juicy apple right here. And the apple is I'm kind of making it look like a nice big round heart, my apples. Oh, and a couple apples already fell. And they're on the ground. I think I'll put one more here. Now I'm going to use just a little bit of my green oil-based crayon for the just a little bit of detail of grass at the bottom of the tree here on the trunk, along the trunk, and maybe a little bit of grass around my apples. Now we're ready to put the leaves on the tree. So we want to make sure we get some clean water. We want our brush nice and clean. And we want clean water. Now we're going to use our brush in a way that we don't use it very often, but we're not going to be able to be working in detail and putting every leaf on our tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of dab the green on our tree to show the leaves. Just have fun. Now I'm ready to paint the ground. And again, I want to be very careful to make sure that I'm not, if my brown from my tree is still wet, I don't want my green to go in and make a muddy color, mixing in with the brown. So you want to make sure that the brown paint is dry when you start to put the ground in. And you can go right over top of your oil pastel that you've used for your apple and for the green grass. It's okay. It won't cover anything up. The next thing we're going to do will be the sky. Now, our watercolor set has a blue, but the blue is very, very dark. And usually the sky isn't that dark. Make sure you get clean water once again. Clean your brush. Get some clean water. And what will be so nice is that you can make the blue a nice light tint of blue when you start to do the sky. Before we do the sky, we are going to do something that's kind of fun. Now we know there's no blue in the tree. However, we're going to use blue today here and there on our tree to show that way back in the tree there's no sun. And it's kind of dark back in there. And this will kind of signify that. It'll just kind of make it look that way, even though we know the leaves aren't blue. We can do that because we're artists. I hope that works for you. It does for me. It just kind of looks like that part of the tree that you're seeing is very dark and doesn't have a lot of any light going into it. Okay, now we're ready for the sky. And we're going to want it to be a light blue, almost like a wash. There, I'm happy with that one. Kind of like that. You don't have to color all of your paper if you don't want to. You can leave some of it out. It will kind of signify maybe a little bit of clouds. Now my tree didn't go all the way to the edge, and so I have to put a little bit of blue on the side. And once again, be real careful when you get down close to the grass. You don't want the two colors to run together. Okay, just how we used blue in our tree, even though we know there really isn't any blue in the leaves, we're going to do something else to finish off the look of our tree. So clean your brush again, because we're going to start a new color. The last color that we will use today, and it's because we want the leaves to really look like the sun is shining brightly today, and we're going to use yellow. Just a little bit of yellow here and there. See how it brightens up your artwork. It really shows that it's a beautiful day. And the sun is shining brightly. on our beautiful apple tree. I hope you enjoyed making your apple tree as much as I did showing you.